Hello and welcome to a Minnesota Banking Minute. My name is Jay Tambernino with the Minnesota Bankers Association, and today I've got Lori Everstead from Consolidated Communications, and we're going to talk a little bit about the new technology or new emerging technology that we're starting to see getting implemented by banks and how they're using this new technology for communications. So Lori, can you fill us in a little bit about what you're seeing out there in the banking industry, or at least the financial industry, on what they're doing for this new communication model that has to be set up for customers?
The game-changing technology that's been happening in 2020 is that now we can see each other. And that's been a big differentiator. Traditional methods of communication involved walking into the bank itself and going up to the teller. Nowadays, it's completely different. Part of it was just because we had to learn how to work differently. But now we can communicate via text, we can communicate via video, conferencing calls, anywhere, anytime. And that has been the biggest differentiation. We see a lot of banking institutions moving forward with collaboration tools, whether that be Microsoft Office tools and Teams, or whether that be unified communication solutions that have advanced capabilities to allow these types of things to happen. So we can communicate in writing, we can communicate over the phone voice, or we can see each other live like we're doing now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. What has been the biggest adjustment banks have had to make during this process?
The biggest adjustment is that we have to do things differently than we've done ever before. So there's a learning curve. You know, everybody's kind of learning this together. And the other variable that people are paying more attention to is how do we keep things secure in a very distributed environment like we have today.
Now, I'm an IT security consultant, and the biggest kind of push on my side that I like to see is what are the new security controls that you can install around these things to help protect them?
That's an excellent question, and security is an area I'm very, very passionate about. So most organizations really look at security from the vantage point of protecting from the outside, like a perimeter-based security. But security is actually much more complicated than that. Not that we want to make it complicated for deployment, but there's just many areas that we have to investigate. So when banking institutions are moving to cloud-based application, there's authentication that they have to think about, knowing where their assets are, where customer confidential information is going to be stored, as well as how they go about accessing that information, where it is being spread around to. We're seeing more and more end user devices being tablets and phones and mobile technologies. And to secure all those different components requires an approach that's layered. So a very common practice like we've seen in the last 6 months has been, as companies have been making investment in collaboration tools, they're missing some pieces as it relates to the security. Very common practice is to move workloads over to Office 365 in the cloud, and there's many benefits to doing that, the anytime, anywhere, as well as having some SLAs regarding uptime. Those kinds of things are advantageous, but the core tool was put together at a price point to be affordable, and there are incremental things that you have to investigate in order to protect the investment, especially with banks. So for example, what we're seeing now is layering on not only the multi-factor authentication on the front end of the process, but adding tools and technologies that may sit in between the customer and the Office 365 or Microsoft 365 cloud to enhance security. And that enhanced security could include things like spam filtering, it could include antivirus protection on the emails themselves and the attachments, it could include malware protection, phishing protection. I will say honestly, as much as I love Microsoft, the tool right out of the box is not sufficient to really protect an organization from that. So quarantine capabilities like we had to live in 2020, those are technologies that exist today that aren't super expensive, that add a layer of protection that's beneficial. In addition to that, we're seeing, you know, other security solutions that are complementary, that include things like firewall functionality, intrusion protection systems, and other variables like that, right? So they don't, it's not a one or the other, it's usually a strategy that hits both.
Perfect. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate your time today, and we'll look for the next Minnesota Banking Minute.
Thank you.